guys, it's NoFragLimit here. I will be recording another game of Warhammer 40k Conquest today in a friendly game against Rendy. We will be playing in the old sector Traxxas with the classic planets and playing very classic Warlords as well. And Rendy has decided to bring his Vezuel with the Dark Angels, and I'm about to play Gorzod with Orcs. Now, these two Warlords line up against each other are really interesting. Actually, Gorzod is discounted whenever he deploys the Astra Militarium or Space Marine vehicles. He pay one resource less for them, and so obviously he's benefiting from more from cards as he's getting a resource discount by itself. And Vezuel, obviously he is getting free cards from his deep striking effect, so more important for him are the resources. If you look on the planets already, you can see that the resource card spread is actually pretty even. It's 5 resources, 4 cards, so a little bit in Rendy's advantage, but not too marginal, so I'm not really worried about that. However, there are 4 blue icons on the first 4 planets, so that will definitely change the dynamic of the game, and we may have see some crossing commitments and very intense fight in the beginning. So let's start straight away. My starting hand contains actually 5 units and 2 support. It's not really the worst one I could imagine. I have a Gorzod wagons for 2 cost. Whenever the opponents have initiative, that unit gets +2 attack, so it could be free if I will place them well with the planet where I would like to see the Vezuel when I will start. It's my initiative. So Sacred Rose Immolator and probably the Assault Valkyrie. These are the deployments I would like to do. Now, where to place the Gorzod wagons? I think that's where the Vezuel could possibly go. The most possible route for him is the plan number 4, which allows him to kind of get the flexible effects from all of these planets. So I'll place the Gorzod wagons here. I think for me, obviously plan number 2 and plan number 3, they'll be the most important ones. These are the planets where I can really stop the enemy offensive and also kind of use their effects. Now plan number 3, which allows you to move the unit, will be very useful for me to combine with that Sacred Rose Immolator. Rendy decided to deploy the first reserved card on plan number 1, Eliquith. I'm not really interested with that first planet. It's got only 1 blue icon, and the effect doesn't really do any harm for me, so I'm kind of fine with this deployment. I will probably give up the planet here straight away. I'm thinking, where am I going to go with my Warlord Gorzod? Probably will be plan number 3, so I can deploy this Sacred Rose Immolator with reduced cost of 1 for a total of 2, and I will place it on plan number 3. Now, Sacred Rose Immolator, whenever it resolves its attack, deals 1 damage to 2 units on the same planet, and place the 1 fate icon on himself as a shield. Now, he do also the same effect reaction whenever he moves from the planet, so it's really good at 1 games to swarm in the big crowds, but it's not really good at 1-to-1, so that's why probably I should go there with my Warlord. Now, the second reserved card deployed by Rendy on plan number 1 makes me feel really okay, so he would definitely get those 2 cards from deep striking them both, but that actually equals the full bonus of that first planet, so he doesn't really do gain any more than he should in the first place. Now, the third and the last deployment for me should be that Valkyrie. Now, I will try to get the resources for plan number 5. The Vezuel could go there to get the resources, obviously, as he needs them for the later stage of the game, but obviously he will not trigger the plan ability. Now, the Valkyrie will definitely a 4/4 flyer posit a danger for him, and he won't be able to overcome this. So even if he will steal that 2 resources from committing on the planet, he will definitely retreat. He will make to rethink the same approach with that Gorzod wagons on planet number 4, as the Gorzod wagons will boost himself but to 3/3. It's a really strong unit to fight off with the Vezuel itself. So and as I will go for plan number 3, which allows me to trigger the planum on one of those, I can still really move that Rose Immolator to overwhelm the Vezuel itself indeed. So I think that's the best possible lineup for me to start. And obviously with the Gorzod also, I'm planning to play the longer game as much as possible to basically allow myself to gain that cap in economy and slowly build the advantage. My opponent's turn right now, so he committed himself strongly to the first planet. I don't really think the Vezuel will go there. There is deployment. Rogue Trader on planet number 5. It's a really good move. Actually, it's negating my income, so I won't get those 2 resources. That's pretty okay. Vezuel, if he's gonna go there to get 3 in total, he may risk to losing that Rogue Trader in the end. So. Okay, I have no more movements, obviously. I spent all the resources and I don't really have any more cards I could play now, but what I have in my hand is the customization stations. That signature support itself will allow me to boost all my forces in a later stage of the game. Interesting deployment here on plan number 2, the Techmarine Aspirant. This unit allows to give the ability to any elite units to ready them for paying 1 resource. So, and it goes on plan number 2. Now, if he may suspect that I will go there just to gain as much as economy as possible, that's well, that's an interesting choice. I may to run some elites. He already see the Valkyria for cost, and he may to think I may deploy the second one for free. I don't know. He decides to land on that planet number 2 with that deployment. It doesn't really give him much. It's only 1 resource. So let's see what's going to be the next move of Rendy. He still have 2 resources which he can pay. Well, he decides to play another reserved card on planet number 2. So okay, that's fine. He doesn't have any more action, so he quickly decides about his commitment. I'm just kind of quickly thinking, is it worth to contest that plan number 2? Not really. I don't like that reserved card. I don't know what's there hiding for me, so no, I will go with my plan to go for plan number 3. And he decides to go for plan number 2. So he secured in my command only actually a 1 resource for plan number 2. I'm going to get 2 resources and 2 cards, which is a really good start. But he will get additional cards, obviously, from his Deep Strike on plan number 1. So, yeah, and a card from the plan effect. So, pretty even. More cards for him. So, let's see. I ending up drawing the Raven Guard Speeder, another 4 costs, well, 3 costs for me unit with 2 command icons, and I also have a second copy of that Ammo Depot, which may be useful. Depends how the drawing and how the cards they will end up in my hands. Now, I have no actions in command. He asking for the first planet. Liquid, I have no actions here really. I cannot do anything else, so he would deep strike his cards. The first deep strike is the 8th Company Assault Squad 3 unit, and the second Valkyrie's Pattern Jump Pack. That jump pack will create a flying keyword on that 8th Company Squad, so it will be a flyer 3/3. Obviously he was going to get 2 cards for that deep strike, which is pretty cool. And as we don't have actions in the combat here, he will be able to trigger the ability of the planet, which allows him to search 3 cards to draw 1 of them. So that he does. That's fine. He's claiming the planet number 1. Pretty steady. No harm. However, he's ending up with 5 cards, 0 resources. I am having 2 resources, 6 cards. So okay. Now, is he going to trigger the ability of the planet? He didn't. That's an interesting move. No elites for him, I guess, so far, but that Techmarine itself, it kind of indicates that he may have some elites there. And now I'm going to trigger the Planum, and I will bring the Valkyria Flyer here on planet number 3 to retrieve it back from the planet number 5. It will be a wasted deployment, as this is a really powerful unit. We don't really want to keep it there. And as I have also 2 command icon units in my hand, and as I already drawn the copy of promotion, I could really kind of overcome this Rogue Trader income with something else much easier. So quite okay for me. I have also The track wreck launcher support right now drawn into my hand. This support is really cool. It deals 1 damage whenever any vehicle unit it leaves the play, and it also ready itself after another vehicle leaving the play, and then it can again deal the damage. It doesn't really work with the single support, but whenever there's 2 or 3 copies, it does a lot of work. Now his initiative in the second round, he deployed the card in reserve on plan number 3, and that kind of tells me there could be potentially a battle there with that Gorzod wagon, so I need to be really careful about what's happening here. I have 6 resources and 2 free cost, well, with the reduced cost double icon units. So I decided to deploy the Raven Guard Speeder on that rogue trader to take the command and obviously have enough power to overcome incoming Vezuel here. And quick response from my opponent, he deployed the Void Pyro on plan number 5. So he is scrambling for the economy, looking a hole here to gain some resource economy for himself. Now, I could really deploy the Dark Angel's Vindicator here to negate that effect, and again get the advantage on another planet, and that's what I would do. I'm kind of overstretching my forces all around the galaxy. I do not have focus on any of the planets, and as my opponent took already the first icon, and I have nothing to take over that planet number 1 right now. He will be having 2 blue icons. That's a dangerous situation for myself. I need to be very careful with what I'm about to do in the next round to gather my forces, but he will try to probably secure his victory condition on one of those planets. Now he still has 2 resources. He could deploy something here. I'm kind of already thinking about my commitment. Now, planet number 2, the Vezuel is going to go there. That's pretty okay for me. I have a Valkyria emulator. They can fight them off. Planet number 3 is kind of weak. There's also possibility of moving the emulator here if I'm going to go for planet number 2. But the Gorzod wagons will want to really match here. So I need to find out a way to defend myself. Plan number 4, that's land speeder is pretty steady, secured. Plan number 5 is kind of weak. Here, towers, he could trigger that effect. He could go with the visual here for the towers to gain the resource bonus, and obviously trigger the ability of the planet as well to get additional free resources on all 3 cards. But I guess that will be about the resources really. So he's hemming, he's thinking deeply about his movement. I think the best deployment, the best commitment for me is the plan number 2. So whenever my opponent will go, I will definitely trigger the plan ability of planet 2 and move that emulator on him. So he deployed another card on planet number 3, so he's obviously thinking about going there or gaining the command. That depends if he have a garrison and he's aligned with Tau, which he probably supposed to have. He may to gain the command advantage. He's still 1 resource. He could deploy that support and try to go somewhere else with the visual, like plan number 5. I have a copy of promotion. I could maintain the command advantage on that planet, really. So I'm thinking here, it could be a waste. Is a shield card, is a 2 commands as well. But I do have really a command advantage all over the place, so this potentially could secure me as well here, and it kind of tells that I could go here to Gorzod and still secure the command. Now, if he will go the visual, I will go with the Gorzod. He's actually on 1 resource just left, so that lined up, it will give him only 1 resource from the plan number 1, which won't allow him to deep strike both cards probably. I don't know. He said well played, and I thought so. So probably he meant to play the garrison here. It could be a potentially good move. So the command advantage is maintained for myself. It's a pretty steady situation right now with all those deployments, pretty even. and all command icons I have in my deck. And he decides to put a Death Storm drop pod, which allows him to deal 1 damage for every deep striking card in the battle. So pretty secured with all those deep striking effects. Okay, I have no actions. He do not have any actions as well, so he'll be down the commitment. I think I'm not going to change my plan. I'm going to go securely for plan number 2. And for him, I could imagine him going for plan number 3, where is all those deep striking cards, or somewhere further down to plan number 2, I mean plan number 4 or plan number 5 really. Plan number 5 makes more sense to try to fight off that Vindicator and trigger the effect of the planets as well. So let's see where he decides to go. My mind is set on my goal, so I have that locked already. There's no possibility for me to go for plan number 1. I could try, but I will end up exchanging that blows with 2 units there. I could potentially ended up not maybe bloodied, but damaged my Warlord massively, when as I have no shortcuts I'm not going to do so. So I went for plan number 2, like I said, and he actually moved himself for plan number 4. That's interesting. So he wants to get those resources probably. Now it makes his income total of 4. Okay, he is securing his economy, and that's probably a long-term thinking, and he's thinking more about the next 2 rounds, where he made to set up a final battle on planet number 3 with the deep striking effect cards. So as he will get to plan number 1 easily, that's going to be his victory condition. He will not come directly to oppose the Valkyrie and Immolator without dragging along any units from the HQ. He made to set up the bunker with that plan number 3 opposed the Gorzod wagons. So very dangerous situation for me. My forces are scattered. He's already secured with Death Storm drop pod. It will be a lot of units required from me, a lot of deployments there. So no actions in the commands, all down to plan number 1. He had a question about his deep striking unit on plan number 1. I wonder what it is. Deathwing in Descenders, so he just flipped the card. Interrupt. When an enemy unit would declare an attack against the unit you control at this planet, deep strike this unit to declare the defender instead. If this unit is still in play at the end of the phase, return it to your hand. Now his question is, does he return to his hand no matter what after the end of the phase? No, I don't think so. As it's only a matter of that interrupt. He didn't really trigger the ability here, so he didn't really deep striking to choose it as defender. So we come both to the agreement that it should stay in play. So I'm allowing him to keep the unit, obviously, and he just need to pay 2 resources to keep it in play, which he probably will, as he showed me the card already. It's the free cost army unit, and it kind of costs for free as well. If you see the deep strike cost 2 and 1 cost to deploy, it's still free in the end for 2-4. Not a really great deal, I would say. It's not an elite unit, it's not really a powerful Terminator, so happy for him to pay for this, it doesn't really do much. And he looks like he did pay 2, so that's fine. He deep striked him and obviously get additional card for that, that's okay. I have no more actions, so he can trigger the ability of the planet if he wants. He's thinking about that, but he already says no trigger. Okay, so he do probably see that I have a Vindicators, Land Speeders, Valkyries, all 4 cost units that could potentially give me another one, as I have quite a lot of cards in my hand. He don't want to trigger, which is a fine move really. Now it's down to plan number 2. My Gorzod present here, he can trigger the ability of the Planum. Now I do so, as I said, I will move that Immolator to planet number 4. To trigger his ability, so Immolator, whenever he moves, his reaction allows to give him the Fate icon and deal 1 damage to 2 units on the planet. And I would deal 1 to Vezuel itself and 1 to that flying unit 3/3, which is cool. No, it's a difficult situation for him, really. He may not consider that planum and this movement itself. Yeah. He don't have anything to fight me off. The emulator itself have a fate icon shield, so that won't really be a lot of damage dealt from the Vezuel. Landspeeder, however, he will be able to kill the 8th Company squad in one blow. And emulator as well probably will try to obliterate the rogue trader and rest of the 8th Company squad if shielded with the first attack, or even do the damage to Vezuel. So not a really great situations for the Dark Angels. Pretty confident. I have also a copy of the Squigify 2 shielding card right now, so pretty steady situation. He is deciding to retreat with his Warlord, which is kind of a smart move. So no fight for me here, and yeah, no action, so I can decide to strike with my emulator for 1. And I'm about to ping onto that 8th Company squad first, and then after resolve the attack I trigger his reaction, which allows me to aid the fight icon and deal single damage on 2 units on the planet, which obviously kills both the 8th Company squad and the rogue trader. So he mentioned on the chat window that's a slaughter. Indeed it is. So the emulator itself did the job, really. And trigger ability of the planet allows me to steal the 1 resource off my opponent and give it back to me, which is actually a perfect, considering that he obviously desperately need those resources. Now we've finished the round 2, all back to round 3. I have a pattern emulator and another copy of Assault Valkyrie, so really good cards for me to keep deploying the unit with the reduced costs. It's really great. I have actually 8 resources right now, and I'm already thinking about deploying the customization station at this point. I need to start using its ability. I have pretty good number of my units, so I just need to find out what's the best possible way to set defense on planet number 2. I'm pretty confident that planet number 1 with the Valkyria, it can defend itself. For the first, I will deploy the Track Rig Launcher to start using its effects as well. As we're heading for the final battle very shortly, this together with the customization station will boost all my vehicles all around in the system very well. So that's my first deployment. I do not decide to put any units as of yet, just to make sure that my opponent won't try to take the shortcut and take over the plan number 1 to win the game straight from me. So that's a very cheap deployment and do not really do much here. So yeah, let's see here, 5 resources, 6 cards, so he needs to commit himself to one of those 2 planets. Is it plan number 1 or plan number 2? Now from his perspective at this moment, obviously the plan number 2 looks much easier. He already have 2 reserved cards there, and Gorzod Wagons is obviously a weaker unit than the Valkyria itself, so really plan number 2 would be his preferred choice, and he decides to put another reserved card there, so I can be really sure that's his choice. Now I'm going with a little bit more expensive support, which is the customization station, which adds +1 attack, +1 HP to all my vehicle units, which is pretty much everything except of the Warlord, which is fine, and also change the faction for Oryx. So yeah, I could really use it with the effects like Battle Cry or anything else. Now the Dark Angel opponent decides to put another card of in a reserve in that plan number 2, so that's quite a lot considering that he have that Deathwing drop pod there. It's really a tight commitment. Now in that case, I will try to get as much as economy before that last battle. I will place the Void Pirate. Now the commands, we at least have a 2 rounds still this round, and the next one I could potentially get 2 cards and 1 resource from each round, which means 4 and 2 resources in total. So that's a good investment considering that I just need to pay 1 resource for that Void Pirate. I can still consider it as something useful and not too risky, but I need to think obviously about squeezing my units on one of the planets already to line up for the last battle. Now His deployment is to put the Belgorod garrison, which he probably had before, so that will give him a command advantage on that planet. Makes sense. I could put here the pattern emulator to even that command, but obviously it won't have any sense as I may not go here with my Warlord, really. I need to think what he potentially could go. If he's going to go for plan number 4, let's say, and I will go unintentionally for plan number 2, there will be a battle that I might not win against all those deep striking cards. And if I will lose somehow the plan number 2, he will be able to trigger the effect, and obviously as he will have less units, he may be able to trigger the towers, and as the next battle will be at towers again, because he may land there with his Vezuel, he may potentially drawing 6 resources or cards, really. It's a very dangerous situation for myself. I do not intend to go there with my Gorzod as well. Where I could go, it's really a plan number 4 to try my Gorzod and at least block his trigger at least once. Now, to be absolutely sure that my opponent doesn't gonna pull any trick on me, I will decide to put the Valkyria with reduced cost for free, and that will take place on planet number 1. So I have 2 4 flying units there. It's absolutely no go zone for my opponent, so I can be pretty much safe here. Now, the only hole in my defense obviously is planet number 4 or even planet number 5. Somehow he could try to strike the 1 damage, but it doesn't make sense. I think towers is just the effect he will be hunting for. This is something he will be looking forward to gain now. So I'm pretty sure where I'm gonna go. I have 2 resources left, so no, I have no resources left actually, so he have there's no more actions I could really do. Squigify for 2 shielding card may be useful, and it's another copy of Deathstorm Drop Pod. He have 2 right now, which is very dangerous with all those cards in reserve. That will be a lot of firepower going my way. I'm thinking about how much damage that will cost in a final battle, really. I have no more actions, he does not have more actions, so we were all about to commit our Warlords. Obviously I'm going for plan number 4, and he decided to go for plan number 2 directly, which is not really a surprise. He already consolidated his forces for the final battle. Makes sense, kind of better move than it's really going on planet number 4, as he saw me already moving this Immolator. I could really move one of my Valkyries or that land speeder on him straight away. So yeah, good choice really, Rendy. However, the command advantage is massive for myself. He draws 1 card and 1 resource. I am gaining 4 cards and 5 resources, which more importantly gives me 2 shields, another Squigify, and a copy of promotion. So I have 3 cards with the 5 shoulders, and a copy of regular killer cans and the Gorzod wagons. So pretty okay with the cards in my hands. I'm just going to reshuffle them a little bit to place them in order. And I don't think I have any command actions here, so just to ask my opponent if he have any, but well, no. So we can go for battle on planet number 1, which is Platinum, and as I have no actions, so I cannot really imagine my opponent triggering any effects here. I can move the Platinum, and I decided to move that Immolator again onto planet number 2 back, which allows me to add a 1 fate icon and deal single damage to 2 units on this planet, which will be the Tech Marine and Deathwing Intercenders. So single damage on them, that's really cool. And the reason why I'm doing this, that's because the Valkyries will come into the final battle in the next round anyway. They're both flyers, so they could really survive the first round. I'm pretty sure about that. So the Rose Immolator makes more sense here. He already dealt damage. He put a Shield Fate icon on himself. He's a pretty steady unit, and I'm about to receive some fire from the Deep Striking effect. I believe that will may have some really serious effects. So let's see. Obviously, I want this. I want to have this immolator to survive the battle, really. I want him to deal the damage, really go and retreat, and to be able to come back to trigger the reaction again by moving onto planet, to possibly triggering the reaction now and in the next round. So first, deep striking effects is to put the visual hunters, which allows to deal 2 damage from the deep striking effect. That's fine, I've shielded it. However, now the reaction after the deep strike from the death drop pot is out. It's giving me 2 single damage, which I should have one with a copy of promotion. The second one needs to go through. So I ended up with 1 damage on that Gorzod Wagons from just 1 deep strike, a massive amount of fire coming my way. And another deep striking card is the Visual Hunters, 2 damage, which I'm about to shield again. However, the Death Storm drop pot will ping me for 1, which makes the damage total to 3. The Gorzod Wagon now is 4/4 with my support, so he's able to survive, and he needs to really get additional blow in order to finish it off. Now, my opponent have no resources, and he decides to keep it ready, so he don't want to strike anymore for my units, which makes sense. He kept it for the final battle. Now he will, however, attack with the Hunters, which will take the Gorzod Wagons away from the battle, but that will allow me to trigger the ability of the support to deal 1 damage, because my vehicle unit left the game. So I will deal that to Tech Marine. Now, he have no action, so I can attack. Again, I will try to attack that Tech Marine. I'm not really sure if there's any elite unit hiding there on the deep strike, but I won't really risk it, so I will finish it off, as this is kind of most dangerous unit for any potential combos in the future. I've dealt the attack, so now I can deal 1 single damage to 2 units, so we will be death with Indescenders and Hunters. And that will give me an additional fate icon on my immolator, so it will probably survive. Now, the first strike from Hunters, that will take the fate icon down, which is Ukai. And I have no actions, so now it's about the attack from Vezuel. That will deal 2 damage, I cannot really shield that, so fine with me, really. I have a 4 HP, so I could really survive another attack here, a single attack, but no, there's nothing coming my way. All the units are ready. Obviously I need to retreat my unit back to HQ if I wish to trigger its reaction in the future by moving it back on the next battle. So I'm allowing my opponent to trigger the ability of the planets. He obviously have less units than me, as a 4 count, my count is 6, so he made to trigger towers to gain some resources for the next deep striking effects. And he will, I don't know, let's see, ready, so no actions, it's about him to trigger. Obviously he's pointing at towers, so I imagine those resources gonna go his way, so he get an additional 3. Perfectly fine with me. I do have 5 resources and 7 cards, so still the advantage, the economy is on my side. However, he have strong lineup on that planet already. It will be a lot of trouble. Now I decided to fall back before strike with my Gorzod to kill off the rogue trade, the pirate with the Vindicator, and then after before the second round to be able to retrieve the Vindicator back to my HQ. It's a really cunning move. But allows me to pull back a unit. So he questioning how that happens, and I'm explaining kindly again that I have retreated my Warlord instead of the attack, let his voice pirate to attack for 0, and then attacked with my Vindicator instead of the Warlord to kill it off. And then as the combat round has been finished, before the second combat round I have retreated my Vindicator as well. So that's the trick I'm using to retreat any high costly units which I kind of misdeployed or deployed with the intention of retreating it like now. So he accepted the fact, call it a nice move, and I'm having the Vindicator back in the HQ, which is a pretty cunning move, but I need to really scrap that power now back to be able to haul here anything I can possibly have to win the battle. Now, pretty good lineup in HQ. However, he's already waiting for me on that planet. Now we finished turn number 3, so all down to turn number 4 is his initiative, so he will obviously strike first. I have 9 resources that will allow me to possibly deploy the Dark Avenger Vindicator for 3, Immolator for 2, so that's 5, and 2 Gorzod Wagons. So I could really deploy 4 units on that first planet. With another 4 in my HQ, that will be a lot of firepower coming that way. And if he will allow me to, get the command from plan number 2 and 4, that will give me a free resources from the economy. Now, okay, so he put a 3rd copy of Deathwing, Deathstorm drop pod. Now that's a free solid support. With those reserved cards, there will be a lot of firepower for me to go for. I am a little bit scared of this situation, really. That's a dream lineup for Dark Angels, and he decided to play the Standard of Devastation. Really powerful support. Whenever Dark Angel unit dies, any other Dark Angel units gain +1 attack for the end of the phase. So by killing those Dark Angels, I will be boosting up the attacks on his mates. So quite crazy last battle, I would say. I will put the Immolator here with the reduced cost, leaving myself 4, enough to deploy 2 Gorzod Wagons. Now he still have 3 resources, 4 cards, so I'm trying to imagine what's in there in those 2 reserved cards. Really, is it the lead unit? Is it the another squad of the hunters? I have no idea. He decides to put the 3rd card in the reserve. Now I'm obviously going with the Gorzod Wagons. Nothing else I can do. 3 cards, that's possibly 6 damages from those supports, really a lot. I'm deploying another copy of Gorzod Wagons, and he just made a comment that was a mistake, so I think he meant the last deployment with the reserved card. I'm not really sure what was the mistake he meant to point. Can I take my last deploy? Sure. Well, I have no really objections against that, so I'll take my Gorzod Wagons back. We will let him to rethink his movement. So what he about to do? He took the resource and he's passing. Okay, so he passed. I will go back to my movement, and I will do the same which I intend to do in the first place, to place the 2nd copy of the Gorzod Wagons. Now I don't have any more actions. I have a copy of Battle Cry, which I could potentially try and trigger. By the command icons, it looks like I have 3, 4, 5, and he's also having 5 command icons on his side, so quite a lot really to think of. Okay, I have no more actions really. Not really sure if he do have any other actions as well. Nope, that's how it is. So he's doing a little bit sad face. He's not happy about what's going on here. He may have not enough resources, so he may to go for that plan number 2 instead of plan number 1. I don't know. No, he did go for plan number 1. Obviously, I didn't have any other choice to go here as well. So it will be a final battle here. Obviously, I'm allowed to trigger the ability of the Rose Immolator, who survived the last one. So that's a fate icon on himself, and then I can deal 1 damage onto Hunters and onto Deathwake Intercenders. So that will kill off the Hunters potentially, and no, it will shield the Hunters here and just add the damage on the Intercenders, which is cool. Now I am gaining the economy on the last 2 planets, so that will give me a resources and 2 cards. Unfortunately, no more shielding cards here. So yeah, I'm okay with that. Really, he have no actions. That's fine. So I guess he will start with his deep striking effect. And now the interesting point is that I gain enough resources to have that battle cry triggered. I could really go off with it, but it all depends about how many of the units from the first line which are ready will survive. If there is no really a lot of units now, I may keep it for the latest stage of the battle, or try to just waste it and use it as a shield. Let's see. I'm kind of hoping that my supports will do a really good job. The customization station now, it gives me absolutely powerful boost, and this signature support is just absolutely awesome here. All my units have additional HP, so even with those deep striking effects and a lot of damage going my way, I may be able to survive. And even if the first line of my units will drop off, the second line, I'm expecting from them to deal some damage in the next round. So he don't see himself winning longer games, so he tried to win this battle, and we discussed. I kind of questioned like why he played this way. I thought he made to go for plan number 2, reduce the attack on the wagons, gain some more resources, and because it's still not my win here, and he kind of overcommitted himself, but he knows that with the longer game I will be just gaining more economy, so he didn't really have any other options here, so that's fine. No actions from me, so he can deep strike the first card, which is the 8th Company Assault Squad, 3/3. And that will allow him to obviously deal some damage from the drop pods. So let's start pinging. The first damage goes on the immolator, that's fine. 1. I presume that the other ones will follow, so that's the second one, obviously. And the third one, bang. So immolator is still alive because he have additional HP from the signature support, which is fine. I'm waiting for the second card to be striked, and that's actually a Vezuel Hunters, so he did had enough to pull this off. So he deals 2 damage to the Gorzod wagons, and now deep strike will kill off my unit, but that will allow me to trigger my support to deal 1 damage on that wounded hunters. So kind of taking the revenge for deep strike to deep strike, but you still have 2 drop pods to strike, so first one goes onto my Gorzod wagons, and as I imagine the second one will follow, and that will kill my wagon as well, but it make it my support ready again. So I lost 2 units in this deep striking barrage. The Vindicator is still alive, so, and he's a lot of HP really, so I can really deal some damage here. Now we all about to go for battle. Standard devastation obviously will be triggered as he lost 1 copy of the hunters. It will add him additional 1 attack to his all units, so that's a little bit dangerous. He will have a solid barrage before we'll be able to ready up my guys. So I mean, he have a free card. If there are a lot of shields in his hands, I may to end up losing this battle. I'm not sure. Okay, so now the Intercenters attack for free, wounding my Gorzod wagons. So I presume that Gorzod wagons will go off very shortly. I will need to attack with them. Now, do I want to use the copy of the battle cry right now? Nah, I'm just gonna go with it, go with the flow. So attack for 2 onto 8th Company squad. He already shielded that. The reason why I attacked the 8th Company, not the hunters, I didn't want to give an additional boost for the rest of the units. So I tried to damage more than just kill, which kind of makes more sense for me right now. And hunters ended up taking 2 damage as he took back the Gorzod wagons. No, actually it was a 4 damage because he have initiatives. Funny enough, he allowed me to wounded them anyway. And okay, now the attack for 4 from the 8th Company squad on the Vindicator. It's still alive, so now I can strike with the Vindicator for 2. You know what, at this point really I need to just finish off those units. He have 2 cards left. If there are shields there, that's tough shit. If there are no shields, I may to take them both down. So yeah, Rendy have no more actions, so I can attack. I will attack with the Vindicators on one of those hunters, I presume, just to try to take them down. Attack for 2. So no shielding effect, that will take down the hunters, so I am pretty safe here right now. Obviously that will add additional attack on the standard of devastation, so all the Dark Angel units, they have +2 attack, but it looks pretty okay. He will be able to strike for 3, for 4 with that Warlord. That will allow me to trigger the ability of the support, and that will do additional damage on the hunters. Now I want to be sure that they will go down. There's no any additional shield hidden, so I will attack for 2 with Gorzod on the wounded hunters, ready to take them down. And no 2 shielded icon cards, so that will allow me to kill that unit off as well. The situation is really good. After the first round, I will ready a little bit more than I thought I will be able to. So the copy of the Gorzod wagon survive. I'm pretty confident with that battle here. I don't really see. Well, it's his initiative. He will still strike on me. So potentially he could take down 2 of the units, but it's a GG. Rendy called it back. I'm just showing the copy of the battle cry here to kind of make the full impact